I think we're live. Hello, everyone. This is Igor MGTOW and Video Games. And in today's stream, we're going to be having a discussion on the new Citizen Vigilante movie and what it's all about with a very special guest. So feel free to introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm from Male Femboy. I'm actually from a group called Pro Male Collective, and I'm just here as a guest to talk about this movie. I've actually watched the movie from start to finish, and yeah, it was a very bad movie, and not just in the message. It was just a bad movie in terms of cinematography and it was boring and very poorly made.
So that's interesting. Basically, Pro Male Femboy will provide the full first-hand account of the movie as someone who has watched it. And meanwhile, I'll go with my sources and provide a basic introduction as to what the movie is. So, Citizen Vigilante movie, as far as I'm aware, is this film where it stars one guy who's like against illegal immigration, or so I've heard. Elon Musk has shielded basically everywhere on Twitter, and it's now the new hot thing in right-wing spaces.
The movie is basically about this one guy who is from America, I think. About this one guy who is quote unquote fighting against immigrant crime, against bad immigrants, and the movie is actually very totally far right and racist, but it actually has some feminist undertones, like for example, there's a scene where men are spiking a woman's drink to rape her, and he stabs them because they're bad and they're the bad men and he's the good man. There's things like that in the movie as well.
Speaking of that aspect, we should also elaborate on the connection between gynocentrism and traditionalism, because this is something that we both know, but is not often talked about. And we have a first comment. Welcome, throwaway 7788. So basically, we have to understand that within the context of this movie and also everywhere else, traditionalism and gynocentrism is connected, because they're both two aspects of the same system.
Yeah.
So this is why the notion that they're different things is disingenuous. And I think as we talk about the movie, we'll see this point come up again and again. Anyways, I'll show you the poster of the movie. I think it's screen share or something. Share screen.
Sure,
I just want to share this. So I assume everyone sees this. So this is basically the poster of the Citizen Vigilante film. I think anyone who's watched either from Elon or everyone else sharing it has probably seen something like this. Some guy named Army Hammer appears to have made it or was involved in it. I'm not entirely sure. So
I think he's the actor who's playing this character. The director is Uwe Boll. It's on the bottom.
Interesting.
The director is called Uwe Boll, and he's actually from Germany, I think. And he's made some other bad movies in the past. He's made other bad movies in the past, like video game movies, which they weren't successful. I haven't watched any of them, but I imagine they're just the typical cringe-worthy video game movie.
So it's basically what in the modern world we would call slop, correct?
Yes, that's a good description of what the movie is about. That's a good description of what the movie is from like a technical standpoint. It's slop. It's badly made propaganda. It doesn't even have entertainment value like movies like, for example, Taken. It's kind of big budget action movie. It's not even that.
I think we see a lot of those in Hollywood. But speaking of which, as propaganda, if we consider it that, who do you think this movie is meant to appeal to? Because knowing that it's promoted by Elon Musk, I think we already know the target audience, but I think you can explain it well.
Yeah, so this is basically like a movie that Tradcons will love. That the Tradcons and the far right is going to love this movie. It's already being astroturfed a lot. It's being promoted a lot, and many of the people are just promoting this movie to quote unquote own the lips. Like I have a
So
feeling that
so
they don't
extremely
know what's up.
performative. So
Yeah,
extremely performative. And speaking of astroturfing, I think I've already seen people like Black Pigeon Speaks already talking about it and declaring it as the great new thing that's being censored or something. I think I've seen this a lot. I'll go check. I think also the channel named Vox made a good short on what Citizen Vigilante is, which I'll also link. But yeah, Black Pigeon Speaks has made this sort of a video 2 weeks ago and is calling the film honest and how it terrifies Europe and everything. But I'm not sure how terrifying Slop would be. I'll link the Black Pigeon
the
Speaks
movie is
video in the
terrifyingly
chat.
bad. That's what I can say. It's terrifyingly bad.
Speaking of which, as someone who has watched the movie, what do you think the first problem is? Where do you think the problems arise first?
Well, the first problem is, I mean, of course, the message of the movie is it is far right, racist, and also anti-male, misandrist. So that's a big problem with the movie. But beside that, the movie is extremely poorly made, and it's not just a budget question. There are a lot of choices that the director has made, which made make this movie hard to watch. For example, many scenes that don't really advance the plot a lot are really stretched out. For example, the first scene we see a woman we see a woman buying things in a store, and this scene takes up like 5 minutes. Like 5 minutes, she's just shopping and buying things with her kid, and it doesn't advance the plot in any way. And later, she's like murdered by this evil male immigrant. But those first 5 minutes, they don't introduce anything to the plot. It's just 5 minutes
So,
of her buying things, and this
so they
happens
make it
again and
long.
again. Yeah,
So they make it longer just because they have nothing else to add. And speaking of which, why is it that they always depict immigrants as these military age men or whatever, to use their own terms instead of them being the diverse group of people that they actually are?
yeah. There's actually a really funny thing here that I will talk about later, maybe, or maybe I'll talk about it now. Actually, there is a scene later on in the movie where the protagonist says that he has legal trouble because the protagonist from America, is an unregistered immigrant, and it never comes up later, which is very funny
Quite
because like the whole movie is
quite the
about it.
irony.
And it never comes up later, which is very strange.
It's quite ironic because as someone
Yeah,
from America, if you go to Europe as a tourist, you only get 90 days out of 180-day period. And if you are overstaying, you're basically an irregular migrant, an illegal. So having an illegal attack upper illegals is quite ironic and also
yeah.
stupid. But I
He's
don't
not
think
just
I
illegal.
don't think
Yeah, go
sorry,
ahead. So it's basically a
and I
movie
don't.
about an illegal immigrant killing policemen and killing people. That's pretty ironic
But I
because
don't think any of these people that shill it ever mention it. At least not that I know of.
yeah, and basically all the time the movie is portraying these all these immigrants that are killing people, that are committing crimes. They're all, of course, they're all men, and there's actually been cases where it has been women who have committed crimes, that it has been female immigrants who have committed crimes. But of course, it doesn't fit in with what the movie is trying to say, because the movie is trying to say male immigrants in particular are bad.
Speaking of the movie's messaging, and I know that you mentioned that there's some racially motivated messaging in the movie, or that you've implied it. Can you elaborate on that in specific? Because if the far right, or at least the tradcons, are shilling it, I wouldn't be surprised if that kind of messaging existed.
Yeah, sometimes it's not even shown. Sometimes it's outright said. Like the protagonist, there's a scene where he makes a video to sort of appeal to the public, and he literally says the word woke. He says, like, literally, he says Europe is being destroyed by Islamic immigrants and the woke left, which I found quite cringeworthy to name drop the word woke in a supposedly serious movie.
Thereby
That's like,
making
I
it
don't
even
know,
more slop and extremely
yeah,
obvious as a propaganda piece.
that's like, I don't know, hearing the word skibidi Ohio is in a Hollywood movie.
I kind of laughed at that moment, now that you've said it. So it is kind of cringe-worthy. Like, if you're going to try to make something sound serious and at least not propaganda, you should at least try by not making it propaganda. But they don't do that.
Yeah, and actually, I was there's actually another thing which I think really shows how poorly the movie is made. In the opening scene, we see well, after the long shopping scene, we see that the woman is being attacked by this male migrant with a knife, and he stabs her in the throat. And like later, a couple scenes later, we see a woman in the hospital, and I thought, oh, she survived the attack and now she's in the hospital. No, it turns out it's a completely different woman. It turns out it's a completely different woman. It's a completely different person. But someone who would be watching would assume the same. I think,
So
because
they didn't bother to make it understandable,
yeah,
correct?
they are very bad at explaining what's going on in the movie, especially since the woman in the hospital, she has like this thing on her neck, this like bandages on her neck, like this thing that holds her neck up. So you would assume she was stabbed in the neck, then she's in the hospital. But no, that's not what happens. That's a completely different person.
Speaking of the movie, there's something that you mentioned before in DMs that I'll ask again. Regarding the plot and the movie production, do you notice any inconsistencies with the European countries the film is supposedly set
Yeah,
in? And if yes, what are they?
yeah. The movie is really the movie is, you don't really know where it's not really stated where the movie takes place, but judging but when you watch the movie, it really just seems like they offer things that Europe is just one big country, because despite the director, well, of course, being German. And you when you look at the background, there is one scene where it's supposed to be a police station, but where the protagonist is being interrogated by the police in a Polish sort of in a Polish Straż Wiejska, which in Polish means countryside watch, which is like a form of local police that basically only does traffic stops and writes fines for drinking alcohol in public. That's all they do. But here they're interrogating this suspected like serial killer terrorist. But yeah, once you see in Poland a Polish location, then a hospital where then a hospital it has like writing in Slovenian. Then the protagonist is kidnapping Judge Reinhold, which would suggest Germany. Then there is Policia. Then there is police. It changes all the time. It
So
changes
it's
all the
extremely
time where the movie.
inconsistent.
Yeah, and you have no idea where the movie is even set. Like it's completely inconsistent.
One would wonder what is the point of that, given that if you don't know where the movie is set, like why couldn't they have set it in one country or made it more realistic? So
Yeah,
that is something to take note of.
the movie like feels like this kind of where like some movies made in like mostly made in America and some video games do this where they make up a fake country and just say it's in Europe. What it feels like, despite the fact that well there are things in the background which do clearly say certain countries, but also it changes all the time.
Actually, the example of the fake country you mentioned actually did work because there is this movie that I watched called The Grand Budapest, which has this fake country called the Republic of Zubrovka or something, and basically it's set in the 1930s and so on. And there's this great hotel called the Grand Budapest or something. And I don't want to spoil it, but it basically shows kind of the history of Europe as and how one lobby boy becomes the owner of the hotel. But that's basically the movie of the Grand Budapest to keep it in simple terms, and it actually works in this case. But I don't think that's the approach they took here with the Citizen Vigilante film. But then
Yeah,
again, the Grand Budapest film was not actually a political film, so that's why it has more going for it.
yeah, like I think what they were trying to imply that this movie is set in Germany with like Judge Reinhold and the analogies with like and like with the movie talking about Muslim immigrants, which would also suggest Germany, I think. But at the same time they were too lazy to like they were shooting in different locations, but were too lazy to make it consistent. I guess to make the writing consistent with what it would look like in Germany. I don't think I've seen any police uniform or any writing with Polizei. It's always police or Polizia.
Which is either an English speaking EU country or European country or either Poland. Maybe Slovakia, if I'm being
Like yeah,
generous.
there wasn't actually Polish Polizia. There was Polizia, which was with I, and it would suggest like Slovakia, I guess. But there was just one scene with a Polish sort of it's called a village guard building, which isn't even police. It's like an it's sort of like I don't know what to compare it to, but it's like local police, which only basically only issues fines. They can't even arrest people really.
So they
So
didn't
that
even bother to do the research of how the police works. So they basically had the random traffic people basically act as the SWAT team or something,
yeah,
or the
basically
strong unit.
yeah, the traffic police is like interrogating a guy who is suspected of being this international super serial killer, super terrorist. That's what they did basically.
Another question that I have regarding the migrants, just because I want to know more about this movie. Are there any actually white European looking immigrants, or are they all looking brown? Because knowing the people that made the movie and they promoted, I would assume the answer, having but you having watched it, I think you know better.
There is like actually a scene where there is white people. I don't. I mean, there's like two white people who are trying to drag a woman, which is also like showing like a feminist narrative. But though they're actually those guys are actually white and they're not said to be immigrants. But when you see that again the issue here is the inconsistency with the locations, you know. But later after that scene our protagonist is interrogated in Poland, so they would probably be immigrants since they speak English. But then again everyone speaks English, so you can't tell. That's my answer. The movie doesn't
Uh,
explain things, it isn't realistic, so my answer is you can't tell.
Yeah, that's the thing. One has to consider that the English is basically the new global language, or has been the global language for at least some time now on a historical timeline. Same way that Latin was once the language, and also Greek, but now English is the worldwide language of trade and commerce. So even if someone was not a migrant, they would be speaking it. But
There is,
speaking of,
yeah, go ahead.
you can go ahead. You wanted to add something.
There is a scene in the beginning where two guys, I think they're coming to I think there's supposed to be like some kind of mafia or some organized crime guys who are like these two guys who are like white but they look like they're from Georgia or something, who are like have like big birds, and they're I think they're trying to like extort money from some store owner. It's not explained well, but basically they come into a dark room. They don't bother turning on the lights. They enter a dark room. They don't turn on the lights, and then they say, "What happened to the lights? You didn't turn them on in the first place." And then
What
they
an
get killed
idiot.
by the guy. So
I
it's
kind of
not
laughed because
explained
it
who
seemed
they are,
idiotic.
and that's also a pretty funny and pretty hypocritical because our protagonist is basically a landlord, and he when he learns that some tenants haven't been paying rent, he says that he will call some people to like evict them without the court order. So that's pretty funny because he said
So conduct an illegal eviction.
so yeah, he's basically like using the same people that he's killing, like the same kind of person that he's killing, like you know what I mean.
The It does show the irony. Speaking of which, what is the guy's motivation for killing the migrants? And is basically the
uh,
movie about killing innocent people? Because from watching the Vox video, and I will link it, that's kind of what it is.
like like the movie like shows them shows them being evil, but that's what the movie is basically trying to just made it move movie is trying to justify killing them by showing them as evil. There's a scene actually where he kills an entire family of some guys who have been accused of rape, and so but he kills their whole family.
Even the people
And
that had nothing to do with it.
yeah, but the guy doesn't really have a motivation. He's just saying people who follow the law are sheep. The like people are sheep. People are stupid, and he doesn't really have a he doesn't really have a tragic backstory. Like his backstory is that I think his mother died and his father didn't care for him, but he doesn't have like a revenge story where I don't know his family
Uh,
was killed by a migrant or something. There's nothing like that. He just sort of one day decided that he will come to Europe and kill migrants
so
just because he
basically, act
wanted
as a
to.
vigilante when he had no right to. But anyways, regarding circling back to that rape accusation thing, we know with the realities of the Me Too movement and afterwards not to automatically believe all women and to always double check instead of believing any accusation blindly. So
Yeah,
why would it? Why is it that there would be an effort to promote this movie in the very spaces? And also among the same people that would be the most affected by any kind of Me Too style false accusation.
yeah.
So that
The
is what I
movie,
was wondering.
yeah, that's the people who are these tradcons. They don't really realize that they're digging their own grave. That they're really promoting a movement that is also against them. Because we have to remember that there is a scene in the movie where also white guys are being shown as the bad guys who are trying to rape women by drugging them. There is a scene like that, and he like swaps their drinks and makes them and drugs them. So there is a scene like that. So we have to remember that the people who are supporting this movie are also supporting a movie that attacks their own gender. because this movie is
But
not just racist; it is anti-male.
that would be a good point, but unfortunately, the tradcons don't see it that way. They care more about the religion or the ethnicity or any other cultural values of the person rather than understanding that regarding gynocentrism, we are all in this together. So that's the
Yeah,
problem.
yeah. Also, another thing regarding the I want to say another thing regarding the how uh, how the movie is just simply not interesting. I wanted to say is that there is actually in terms of like action scenes, there isn't actually a lot of real scenes that could be considered like action where you're really getting excited. You know, there
So
is
it's
one
not.
scene. Yeah,
So it's
go
not
ahead.
really. So it's not even the good action slop it's supposed to be.
Yeah, there is a scene. There is a scene where for 5 minutes it starts out with that with for 5 minutes there is a police car driving. There's like a SWAT team driving to his house, and and they show the SWAT team again, just like the beginning scene. It drives for like 5 minutes. For 5 minutes, they show the car. They show the normal police car with polizia in it, in front of it. Then they show the SWAT guy chilling in the car. Then they show the road again, and it goes on for like 5 minutes, and it doesn't advance the plot in any way. They could have shown this SWAT car for like 10 seconds, and that would have done the job.
So they can't even do that properly. Like, question:
Yeah,
how did you even manage to watch the entire movie in like one sitting? Because if I was in that scenario, I would probably be bored out probably halfway through,
I
not
was doing
counting this
other stuff.
that other scene.
I was just
Uh huh.
watching it on the phone and doing other stuff.
That explains it. And also, speaking of the movie, there is a scene, and I'm not sure if we can mention it on YouTube or not, but that scene was very surprising and shocking to say the least. And I don't see how it was related to the political messaging of the scene. So basically, the protagonist apparently has to pay for. How do I even explain this pro male fanboy?
Do you mean which scene do you mean? The bus scene?
Uh, uh,
No. Oh, I think
I'm going to
they
the
like.
one with the sex worker.
Oh, okay, yeah. So basically, I may can I use like YouTube no words, Igor?
You use YouTube words if you have to, but use
Okay,
normal
so
words if you want to.
basically, the protagonist goes to like a, well, let's say an adult establishment, and has he well pays a adult worker to have you know what, and there is an adult scene, and then he notices there is mold in the building, and of course the scene takes a long time, just like everything in just like everything else in this movie, and then he notices there is mold in the building, and so he tells her to send someone to fix the mold, and then gets back to doing what he was doing, and doesn't the scene doesn't change the plot in any way. It's just there. It's ridiculous,
It
and it was actually a painful to
it
watch.
makes me laugh. Like I
It was
wonder what was the point. It looks so unserious. It makes it sound unserious.
painful to sit through and watch. I was just waiting for it to end. Yeah, it was
One has
completely
to
ridiculous.
wonder. I'm still kind of laughing, but one has to wonder, like, why include that scene? We already
Yeah,
have the problem of films
yeah,
including sex scenes unnecessarily, and this just doesn't improve it. Okay,
yeah. I
it would
don't.
be one thing it was if it was normal political propaganda slot, but this is just something else entirely.
Yeah, I don't like sex scenes in movies. I find them really like boring. But sometimes they advance the plot. Sometimes it's like Sometimes they do advance the plot, but most of the time they don't. And this one was the worst example the worst example I could probably find of a bad sex scene that doesn't advance the plot in any way, and it's just there for seemingly no reason.
to make it
And
more slop. And these tradcons, they want to use the movie as like this new manifesto against immigration. And having having described what you described already makes it sound unserious. So using it as this kind of new political manifesto is already, I don't even know how to put it. It's just cringe.
yes, it's a very cringe-worthy movie. Also, it's not even the kind of movie where you can like go, hell yeah, this is cool, like John Wick. So I wanted to talk about the probably only action scenes in the movie where there's like an actual fight, because all the other scenes is just him like shooting people by surprise, just shooting unarmed people. So this is the only scene where there's an actual fight um, in the entire movie. And this scene is where the police raid his house. There is this 5 minute long drive first, then another 5 minutes when they deploy in front of the house and the SWAT with badges that say SWAT and some weird lightning bolt symbol uh, come into the building, and they walk into the building like 5 times over, like 5 times they shoot them walking up the same stairs. They show this the same scene where they walk up the stairs like a couple of times, and then they surround the guy who is like barricaded himself in like in sort of like an armored box where he has like two guns sticking out of it. He has like an armored bunker with two guns that are sticking out of it, you know. And
Uh,
and then they all aim at him and tell him to surrender. Like
with
they don't
him being the
take
protagonist,
cover.
correct?
Yeah, they don't take cover. They don't try to get like out of the range of the guns before they start to fire. And they could like go behind the box and I don't know, for a flashbang inside. But they don't. They just line up in front of the guns and tell him to surrender. And so then he just shoots them all. First he tells them, "Oh, you're just doing your job and you can just go away, and I won't shoot you." But then he just shoots them all, and there's like this weird sort of funny music playing as he shoots them, and there are some scenes where their heads explode. And
Actually, actually an L for the police because if the protagonist was in that bunker, they could have easily just surrounded it and just went in from behind to basically sabotage it. But no,
yeah,
you throw everyone in the front and then wonder why you lose.
yeah, they just basically all stood up in front of the bunker, and yeah, the guns had like an angle where they could have just rushed behind it and threw a grenade into the firing slit like they did with tanks in All Quiet on the Eastern Front. But they didn't.
One has to wonder if the police are intentionally trying to lose.
Yeah, like this is action movie. This is like action, the worst example of action movie antagonist stupidity. And it wasn't even a fun scene to watch like John Wick, where I don't know, where there's variety, where he runs through like a corridor and like disarms the opponents or just like uses them as human shields. Like there's some kind of action, there's choreography. There wasn't anything like that here. It was just they stand up in front of the bunker, then get slaughtered, and there is this weird, unfitting, funky music.
Was
And
him just
yeah,
so I ask, as I want to see if there's any redeeming qualities for this slop or whatever. Was at least the music interesting or was it also slop?
no, the music was very forgettable and generic. I couldn't even hum the music if I was asked to.
So
There
there,
isn't anything good about this movie.
so there is nothing interesting or noteworthy about the movie, and yet tradcons want to use it as this new manifesto or new piece of media to promote their cause.
Yeah, the only thing that I found fun in the movie is looking at the background details and trying to wonder in which country this was shot. That was the only fun part when watching the movie.
Now that I think we got the scenes of the movie out of the way, I'm not sure if there's any more. Feel free to correct me
There
if
is
I'm
one scene.
wrong.
There is one scene that I really want to talk about.
Feel free, you have the floor.
Yeah. So in this scene, there's been previously another scene where there's 3 kids. There's a black boy, a white boy, and a girl, and they're on the bus and they're not buying tickets, and they tell the bus driver to piss off when he asks them to, and our protagonist tells them to buy tickets, because then if they don't, then tickets will be more expensive. He gives them this talk and threatens one of them with a gun, and then they all just walk away later. But later on in the movie, he sees those 3 harassing and bullying a boy in the street, in a park. They're kicking him and they're throwing stuff out of his bag. They're not trying to rob him; they're just harassing and bullying him.
So they're doing it because they can, instead of trying to actually get something.
Yeah,
Noteworthy.
And later he comes up to them and he tases he tased the white boy first, I think, with a taser, and then we hear the girl scream. She's screaming very loudly, but off camera. And then he sort of grabs the black guy and he tases him a little longer, and then the girl just disappears completely. Both of them fall onto the ground. The guy they were bullying stands up, but the girl disappears. We don't see her running. She just disappears as if she evaporated. And he doesn't try to go after her, even though she was attacking the boy as well. He
By
doesn't
he
try
you
to
mean
go
the
after her.
protagonist, correct?
What?
By he you mean the protagonist,
Yeah,
correct?
the protagonist. He doesn't try to go after her in any way.
So the protagonist goes after men, but not women. I think this already shows the kind of messaging there is in terms of gender and in terms of how gynocentric things are.
Yeah. It's not like he couldn't. It's not like I know she ran away and they showed that she ran so he couldn't get her. We don't see her running at all. We just hear her scream and she evaporates. They could have shown her running and then him looking at her running and seeing that she got away, But they didn't even show that. They don't even show that she just disappears and we never hear of her again. So in fact she got off scot-free from attacking that boy.
So basically, the protagonist left her alone intentionally.
Yeah, and what does he do to the boys? He breaks their legs when they're on the ground, and he doesn't do that to the girl. So these boys were beating this random guy. They get their legs broken, and what happens to her? Absolutely nothing.
And the protagonist attacked the boys because he could. I don't think the protagonist had any legitimate reason.
Yeah,
but
certainly
no,
for breaking their legs, no. Yeah, and he didn't do anything to this girl.
Just a note, did the boys do anything to the protagonist, or did the protagonist just target them because he could?
He attacked them because they were bullying this other guy. That's the justification, basically. But to the girl, he did nothing.
Sounds like a weaker justification, but at least better than just targeting scot-free, which is what I assumed would happen, because I already get there's like a way I have of me looking at something surface level and already being able to tell the vibes or what the movie would be about just from a surface level read of it. And I think we've basically confirmed it. Is that correct?
Yeah. So there's also another scene where the protagonist just straight up kills people who are completely innocent just to make a point. And I want to talk
Uh,
about this scene now.
I'll read a comment before you do that because someone mentioned here,
Yeah,
Citizen Vigilante is a misinterest racist shit movie. Thoughts on the comment?
I agree.
Well, given what you've said, I don't have any reason to doubt you or disagree with you. I would certainly call the movie questionable. There is merit to calling it slop, and given that it's basically propaganda, you've mentioned that it basically calls out wokeness by name and also
Yeah,
a religion, that it basically meets all of the things that the guy here who wrote the comment talks about.
yeah. It is a shit movie. And it is very, very misunderstood and racist.
But
So,
anyways, you have the floor now. You can talk about that scene.
so the scene is the guy, our citizen vigilante guy. He kidnaps a judge who was named Judge Reinhold. Again, with again in a in like again we see the inconsistency, which would suggest Germany. Judge Reinhold would suggest Germany, but then
It
we
is a
see
German name.
Policja and Polish traffic police buildings. So no consistency here. Mm. So he kidnaps this judge, and he says that the reason he kidnapped him was because he let off some guys some migrants who assaulted a woman, who sexually assaulted a woman, and he drives with this judge he kidnapped, and he drives into the left lane to make a point. He says that people follow the law blindly, even if it puts their lives in danger, and he keeps driving in the left lane, and some other car comes up from the other side, and he stays in the left lane. He just stays in the
So
left
he's
lane, uh, he wants to like crash, and he says he won't swerve around him, and the other car starts honking at him starts it starts honking at him to get out of the wrong lane, and at the last minute he gets out of the way, and then the other car just crashes in a ditch and explodes like in an American movie. So he basically just killed a random person who did nothing wrong.
I'm not sure if the person was even an immigrant, so it's kind
Yeah,
of
like
stupid.
just
Well,
just a
so
person, just some person in a car.
so let me get this straight. He drove in the left lane when the driving side in most of Europe is the right lane, just to grandstand, even moral grandstanding. Not sure if it's moral grandstanding or regular grandstanding about some bigger point that could have been demonstrated in any other way.
Yeah, and yeah, but he basically kills the person that was driving the car, or people. The scene is also ridiculous because all that the car does is basically flip over, but it explodes. It of course wouldn't have exploded in real life, but I guess that was I think
So they
the
basically took the liberty of an American action movie and made
yeah,
it
that was the most
explode.
action movie scene in this action movie. That was pure action movie slop, but the funny kind of action movie slop, and not just boring.
Slightly entertaining because explosions are always interesting to look at.
Yeah, it was kind of a scary scene, kind of a like disgusting scene, but it was also funny because of the ridiculous explosion.
That is fair to say.
Mm.
Is that one of the few things about the movie that is the only interesting bit?
Yeah, it was. It was. It's just saying that it's mostly funny and also illustrates how the protagonist is a really like bad person and unlikable character who actually kills innocent people to make a point. Like they weren't. They didn't make this guy like an amazing hero.
Not even a good
Uh,
anti-hero, because there are like movies where you have like good anti-heroes that actually do something interesting or are doing something that's good, even if they're considered anti-heroes. But he's not even that. Am I correct?
yeah, he's. They were trying to make him an anti-hero, but
Failed miserably.
that yeah, they made with that scene alone, he's a villain. With that scene alone is enough to classify him as the villain.
To be fair, I would say with the killing of the immigrants, even if they did nothing wrong, he would already be a villain. But that
Yeah,
just
but
seals.
that happens later in the movie actually.
Aha, I see.
But still, it's the movie is not showing all the scenes in order. The scenes aren't in order, and it's meant to be like artistic, but it
So
just comes out as confusing.
it's just a confusing compilation because one would expect a movie to show something in order, like if it's a timeline, like a timeline of events from the past to the future. But it doesn't even do that.
Yeah, some movies do it well actually, but this one certainly didn't. Like some, for example, showing something from showing something that makes no sense at first, but later, as the story goes, it starts making sense. But here, it wasn't even that. It wasn't like good cinematography.
With all of these facts now clearly laid out, one has to wonder, why is this movie even taken seriously or taken as some kind of interesting political movie or anything else when it's just bad in basically every sense of the word, in terms of politics, the points it makes, and also the production value.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear. It's because the movie is just propaganda. It's just being promoted as propaganda, and the people who promote this movie won't say that it's bad because that would be seen as like as going against against like the message against the crowd. You know what I mean?
It would be seen as counter signaling.
Yeah, exactly.
And if there was like a left wing movie of this kind of production value and politics, and if it was just as bad, would the right wingers all call it out and say it's bad just to
Yeah, they
remove flaws?
100% would.
Because I feel like if they don't call it out in this case, but if they would call out a movie that is left wing but also has the same flaws, then that shows a clear bias.
Yeah, if there was like a if there was a left wing movie that was the exact same, they would immediately call it the worst movie ever and say the left can't make movies. Like if it was the same scene for scene, but it like swapped out the antagonists.
I feel like some would even say that Biden made the movie or something.
Yeah, they would 100% shit on this movie.
Speaking of which, now that I think about it, in non-tradcon spaces and any place where politics and everything is actually independent instead of being completely absorbed by the tradcons and their opinions, especially those on the far right, how is this movie actually perceived? Basically, by anyone who isn't the most loyal tradcon on the planet.
Yeah, basically, a lot of people are saying that there, of course, a lot of people are criticizing the movie's message, but others are also saying are also calling it out for just being bad or just being technically bad. Uh, many people are saying that it's like that it's some people are saying that it's the worst movie of all, that's a contender for the worst movie of all time, just because it is technically bad,
That would be
because
correct.
it has bad cinematography, I mean.
Speaking of which, you're in one of the non-Tradcon communities. I think it's called the Pro Male Collective. How did that community perceive the movie when it was released?
Yeah, we called it out as racist, man-hating, uh, tradcon trash, and we've actually made a reaction to this movie, and we also called it out. We made a
By the way,
reaction video to
I'll
the
try to
movie.
find the reaction. Feel free to send it via Discord, and I'll also link it in the live chat.
Yeah,
But it's good that basically people are aware of the movie's flaws and aren't completely absorbed in it. Because there's a wager. I'm going to go out on a limb. Feel free to let me know if I'm wrong or something, and that goes for everyone in the chat, not just you, Promel Fanboy. I'm going to bet that the same errors in Citizen Vigilante are also present in movies like The Last Battle of Europa or something. I haven't checked out this movie or film in particular. I know that it tries to push a political message, but if this kind of slop is bad, who's to say about that other movie?
I've actually haven't watched that one, and I don't think I want to.
I don't think I want to either, but I'm just going to call it what it is. The Last Battle of Europa is a film that tries to portray an supposedly alternative narrative of events in World War II, with the one with the main narrative being that National Socialist Germany was actually somewhat the good side of the war, but that's as much as I'm willing to say on YouTube. So my bet is if Citizen Vigilante slop is that bad, and if that kind of slop is what passes for good in these spaces, then that doesn't speak well for anything else that they make.
Yeah, I agree. As long as it's just pushing the message, they will call it good, even if it's literal dog shit.
To be fair, I'm going to give Citizen Vigilante credit. I'm not sure if I'm right, but at least they didn't use AI slop. At least I hope I'm right on that one, because if they use that, ruins its production value even further.
I didn't see any, but I honestly wouldn't be surprised if I saw that, but there wasn't any. It was just real life bad filmmaking.
Okay, well, at least that's better because in many of these spaces, I'm seeing AI slop dominate. So at least they put in the effort because they could have just as easily tried to AI swap and vibe film the entire thing. Vibe film basically being like vibe coding, but for filming and movie
I have
production.
actually seen a this kind of attempt at making sort of an AI version of this movie, but before this movie even was announced, I saw it was, I think, from the UK. I don't remember the name of this guy, but there was a guy who was like making a AI movie about a civil war in Britain against Islamic immigrants.
So more Tradcon narratives. And anyways, I now have the link of the Pro Male collective coverage of the movie. So if you want to, you can check it out right here.
Yeah, I actually wasn't on there, but I wasn't in that video, but I
You
still
weren't on your panel,
agree with
but
this
I feel like
reaction.
we covered it here.
Yeah, I still agree with their reaction. And
I
yes,
haven't
I'm
checked out
happy
the
that
reaction, but I think I would also agree with it. And now that I think about it, the fact that this movie has any prominence in the manosphere at all speaks of the kind of problems that we're facing, because movies such as it and anything that has to do with immigration or stuff like that that isn't directly relevant to men's rights, or even things like alimony or divorce court, shouldn't have a platform. It shouldn't be
Yeah,
here. And if there is an attempt to sway opinion based on immigration, and also promote the messaging that the movie promotes with all of the things that you mentioned, it speaks to the kind of problems that we're facing, because we already have the SPLC trying to call us a hate group and basically attack the manosphere, and the people that promote it, even in these spaces, aren't helping, aren't pulling their weight.
yeah. Not only is this movie racist, it's also anti-male. That's another thing that should be mentioned here. The movie
We
is
should actually go
anti-male.
in on that part, because this is something that people need to hear.
So, like, not only is it not helping, it is promoting this movie is going to hurt men.
That is true, because the movie is just a specific political group's opinion on immigration, which immigration, as far as I understand, has basically nothing to do with our own issues, and nothing to do with trying to avoid misandry, trying to avoid gynocentrism, trying to avoid all of that stuff. So the fact that this kind of movie is even spreading at all and is even being shilled is kind of shows what kind of problems we face. Because the real question is, why should anyone have any, other than the tradcons have any positive opinion on this movie, knowing what we know about it? Because unless you're a tradcon yourself, the movie isn't compelling or even likable, because it does nothing for us other than shit on immigration, which isn't even an issue that's related to us, and make us look worse for promoting it.
Yeah, basically there is no reason to promote this movie in any male space whatsoever.
And regarding those who would promote such a movie or think it's good, especially those who would want to promote it in spaces like ours, this channel, the PMC, or the Manosphere, or even MGTOW itself, what message would you have for these people that think it's good?
Oh, if anyone wanted to promote this movie in the PMC, they're going out. They're out immediately. Immediately,
They,
anyone who promotes this movie in PMC would be out immediately.
that
Anyone
is,
who promotes it.
and I'm glad to hear about it. But what would your message be overall to these kinds of people? Because I feel like they need to hear the message that that kind of thing shouldn't be welcomed, and that they're already causing problems.
Yeah. So what I would say is, what I would say is that this movie is racist, anti-male trash, and that if you want to promote this movie, you should go back to your Travcon spaces. You should go back there and stay there, preferably.
Preferably forever, because if you want to be in a TrapCon circle jerk, you can already do that. Our spaces shouldn't be used as that, because it is we who pay the price for their actions.
Yeah, there's been way too much hijacking of men's spaces by this kind of trash.
The good thing I want to say about the PMC in this instance is that it has been the strongest opponent of this kind of hijacking to date. There are some things that the PMC does that I think MGTOW should incorporate, and it's actually why I like the PMC. The PMC actually does something against this. People like, if I have to mention, Iridium Kush or Bullets for Teeth and the like, they kind of like to LARP as the anti-Travcon side without doing anything actually meaningful. The PMC does something meaningful, and that's why I like it.
Yeah, we call this trash out. We call this trash out, and we don't allow people to promote it in our spaces.
That's not one. That's just one aspect in terms of the movie, but the PMC actually does more in stopping the TradCon problem entirely. That I think we should also do, and we need to do if we want to not be influenced by them forever.
Yes, the tradcons need to be considered anti-male 100%.
And that's kind of the thing that pisses me off when it comes to tradcons. The tradcons, especially those that don't admit they're tradcons, would do everything that possible, would accept all of us losing if it means they win on a particular issue. Like, for example, with opinions in terms of trans issues, I've seen on more than one occasion some of them would rather we lose entirely, even MGTOW lose entirely, if it makes the situation for trans people worse.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of tradcons ally with TERFs who are rabbit men haters in order
I'm
to
going
attack.
to point out one example on Twitter because I think I've saved it, but Matt Walsh directly confirms that this was the strategy and the playbook.
Yeah, I saw that I think he said that he would ally with feminists with TERFs in order to attack trans.
I just need to find the example tweet, but I know it should be there.
Maybe he deleted it. That's a
Wouldn't
possibility.
surprise me if he tries to weasel his way out of this. But I think I have it saved. At least I know I do. Probably take a while of looking at it. Yeah, I have it saved.
Okay,
So
let's see it.
I'm just going to share screen. Where's the tab? All right. Let me read it in its entirety. During the gender ideology fight, I made it clear that I would happily align with liberal feminists who hate my guts for the purpose of defeating transgenderism. That already is proof enough.
Look at
That
this slave. Look at this slave.
do you also see the image from Male Femboy?
Yeah, look at him.
Like,
Look at what he said. Everyone.
he is saying he's basically proposing that the tradcons and Turks align themselves for the purpose of defeating things they don't like, and in the end, also defeating us, because we know what would happen if they got their way. If the
Yeah,
tradcons got 100% their way in terms of trans issues, we MGTOWs are next.
yeah. Look, everyone. This is your based anti-feminist tradcons. Look at them. This is basically proving what we've been saying.
And I've basically had criticism on many fronts for basically acknowledging the truth. I'm going to post a comment. They are the same. Tradcons are feminists. I would say that the redeeming quality of feminists is that at least they were sort of an honest enemy.
Yeah,
Tradcons aren't
they're
even
our
that.
enemy, and we know it. But the tradcons are a cancer that is hiding, and we don't know it's there. And some of us
Until
don't
it's too
even know
late.
they're an enemy.
Anyways, I'll read the rest. They mostly declined that invitation and turned around and disavowed me, which is expected, but the invitation was sincere. I will work with anyone to defeat an evil. This has always been my stance. He calls it an evil.
Yeah,
When it comes to fighting the left and defeating the people who want to kill me and my family and piss on my grave, I'll unite with anyone on the right, even those I don't like and who don't like me. If you think this is unprincipled or morally compromised, then you don't understand
yes,
how
we
to
do.
fight and actually win a battle. A fractured conservative movement will fail. only a united front can succeed. So he's
So
basically saying he will work with anyone if it advances his interests.
also, one thing that he's admitting is that a feminist is that TERFs are right wing. That's a thing that he's admitting indirectly. He's admitting that indirectly.
The TERFs also tend to grandstand as this progressive thing, but I don't think they are.
Yeah, they are not.
I've seen this grandstanding a lot, to be honest, and I think it's a problem. At least even liberal feminists, the intersectional feminists, will tell the TERFs to fuck off and stop calling themselves progressive.
Yeah, I oppose all feminism. I think it's all trash and anti-male. But the thing here is, we just saw what happens. We just saw how tradcons quote unquote fight it.
Because they don't want to, because they consider TERFs to be advancing their interests. And this is the thing we have to understand. Back in 2018, 2019, we had intersectional feminists. We had some feminists who were basically fat, if I had to use that term, basically scream, but they were still your typical intersectional feminists. From our perspective in 2026, these types of feminists were like Mitt Romney, but now we're dealing with Nick Fuentes.
Yeah,
Mitt Romney is far more moderate than Nick Fuentes, but in trying to defeat Mitt Romney, the Mitt Romney type of feminists, we basically just got Nick Fuentes type of feminists instead. And I feel like we've seen Nick Fuentes like behavior everywhere, be it feminism or, to be honest, to be more honest, the tradcon spaces themselves. There's basically another comment, same guy.
yes.
Feminism is a far right hate movement. I don't think they themselves see it that way. But regarding TERFs, there is credence to that kind of thinking.
Yeah, they don't, they hide it, but they are. I think I agree with him. I agree with this guy.
I I see reasons why he would say it. To be quite honest, and I think it applies in particular to the TERFs.
Yeah, well, I think that basically the entirety of the feminist movement is anti-male is far right. They're a hate movement. That's what I think.
That is an interesting opinion because here's the thing: in terms of these circles, and especially how things used to be, people used to oppose feminism because they thought it was left wing, and that there was this in push to basically call feminism woke and whatnot that I think succeeded. But in doing so, in trying to oppose feminism and gynocentrism in this way, we've just given the seeds for tradconism to spawn and rise.
Yeah, the term woke is a term that is incorrect. I think there is no such thing as woke. There
I
is no
think there
such
was
thing.
like this woke 1.0 thing, but it disappeared. It disappeared. But the thing one has
Term,
to mention is that at this point, the word woke is a slur against anyone the tradcons oppose.
yeah, the term woke is a thought terminating cliche. It means nothing. It means whatever the user wants it to mean at this moment.
Yes, as someone who has been called woke multiple times, that's exactly how it feels like. Because the person who's likely to call you that probably has no argument and feels the need to attack you on something. So that's the next best thing.
Yeah. I also Okay, yeah, go ahead if you want to say something.
Actually, I wanted you to go ahead. I was thinking of whatever point I wanted to mention next, but if I'm not speaking, you have full freedom to say whatever you want to say.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that at PMC we consider feminism a hate movement, which is far right. I just wanted to say this again. And since we saw Matt Walsh basically confirm it that they're on the same side, we saw him say that straight up.
Yes, we even have photographic evidence.
Yeah,
I'm glad I kept it because had I deleted it, things would have been worse. But I have even more evidence, and I'm thinking maybe next stream we should mention it, especially if we talk about things like IVF and the artificial womb, of tradcocks basically straight up screwing our interests over in terms of that. Now, you know me as the
yes,
great supporter of artificial womb technology. It's a thing that was promised to us in MGTOW and was the zeitgeist for basically all of this time until like just a few short years ago. So, as a supporter of this technology, one has to wonder why the zeitgeist went away, and also why is it a problem to do the right thing? Because we are basically the only ones who understand to what extent the Tradcons screwed us over and are against them because of that. Sorry if you heard any other audio, I was just plugging in a charger.
yeah. So yeah, tradcons are they love marriage. They love marriage a lot. They love this idea of traditional family, which is basically woman worship and is against male independence. So that's why we can count on them to be pro male fighters, pro male heroes. They are anti male, in fact, and as we see, they are the same as the feminists, or
I'd argue
in
even
some
worse.
aspects even worse. They are very similar, if not the same, and in some aspects are worse, but they are not to be trusted.
That is true, and that's why I've done as much as possible to oppose that kind of thing. And speaking of which, to the extent that such things have been promoted even in our spaces to our own detriment, we now have an issue where if you have a political opinion or any kind of opinion that doesn't align with them, or even if you oppose something like you must like women, and I'm sure we know what like means in this instance, you basically get criticized.
Yeah, which basically again shows that they are women worshipping.
The question I have in particular, especially to those who push this kind of you must like women ideology, which is what I'll actually call it, because that's what it actually means, even if they call it MGTOW is for normal men, because that's the official name, is why would we even bother to sort of like women if we have technology? Like even TFM, Turd Flinging Monkey, even Raging Golden Eagle, even all of these great MGTOW YouTubers, and I think Undead Chronic to some extent, even if I don't really view Undead Chronic that favorably, all mentioned that there's going to be technology that will make things better. So, in light of that context and in light of what the future is going to be, why make the benchmark of MGTOW based on something that won't even matter in the future? And by won't matter, I mean women will be around, but all interaction will be voluntary because there will be technology.
Yeah, they don't really have this sense of the possibility of progress, I think. And also they can't really let go of women. That's also something that it reveals that they cannot let go of women.
To be fair, in terms of MGTOW and also what's called the monk lifestyle, you're supposed to control your biology and not simp, but if there is a criticism based on not being into them, then that's basically a problem in my viewpoint, because why should something that's meant to be for men, by men, and for men's interests be beholden to whoever you like, a group of people that are not even men?
Yes. Yes, and like if you want to walk the talk, you should walk the talk.
If you want to talk the talk, you should walk the walk. I agree.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I meant.
Understood. I think so far we have 2 viewers. It's been almost an hour. Is there anything else about the movie that we know of? 3 viewers so far.
Hmm. I don't think I have anything else to say about the movie.
I see.
Other
Then
than
I'll probably
everything.
I'll mention things in general regarding politics and the context the movie is in, as well as the track-ons in general, for like another 15 minutes, and then we can basically pull the plug on the live stream.
Yeah.
So, regarding the movie Citizen Vigilante, it obviously has a certain message it's trying to promote. It's promoted by basically almost every anti-immigration shill that exists, and I will try to check on Twitter, because
It basically shows they're a unified sort of political bloc. This Stratcon political bloc, they're all pushing the same message.
yeah, they're pushing for a single conservative movement, just like what Matt Walsh said.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I see a tweet on Citizen Vigilante. I feel like I should show it.
Yeah, what is it?
Hold on. Share screen. Twitter. Alright, so I'm going to. I hope this is big enough for everyone. I'm going to read it. Citizen Vigilante is incredibly bad, almost to the room level. The level of right-wing cope about it is embarrassing. The fundamental story is broken. The movie should have obviously been about a vigilante who kills Muslim child rapists and such. Instead, there's a scene where the protagonist is lecturing some white kids about paying a bus fare, and one where he causes the death of an innocent unknown driver by his own reckless driving. I'm pretty sure we never even see the migrant woman murder from the opening scene again. It's hard to understand how Uwe Boll can make a movie this bad. The basic movie craft is among the worst I've ever seen. Fascinating levels of incompetence. And I feel like
Yeah.
you've mentioned exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, I've mentioned that scene where he basically kills a person by driving in the wrong lane.
And
And
speaking of which, I'm going to show what Elon Musk had to say about it, and kind of shilling that was
and by the
I'm
way,
not sure if you missed it. I want to see if it's
the
relevant.
the director of the movie, he's
I'm,
known for
I'm not sure
making
if it's
bad films. The director is known for making really bad
uh-huh.
films, mostly video game movies, which already sounds bad.
Actually, what Jonathan Paulison mentioned here would be good, because that is that is how a well executed plot would look like.
Yeah, well, I don't think the movie would convince anyone who hasn't been convinced already.
Who isn't already a Tradcon? Anyways,
Yeah,
I'm just going
the
to check what
movie
Elon
is
Musk
not
said
made
and
to
see what kind
convince.
of a show will conduct view quotes. I want to see who's promoting and who isn't. It'll probably take some time. And bad takes all around. I think you've already seen what Brad Allen is saying.
Oh, yeah, that is so cringe. It's so
You're actually laughing at them. I'm laughing because they're
yeah.
basically
This what
implying Islamists and trans activists are the same.
It's very formulaic, like right wing ranting.
I'm not even going to entertain it for that long. I want to see if there's anything else. And of course, an account named Woke Mind Virus has something to say. And Dash, probably AI. The Great Awakening of Mao.
Based movie. Yeah, I mean, it's a
Based
trash
move.
movie. Based
No,
move. I
no,
thought
no.
based movie.
Go here. See what he said. MOVE.
Oh, okay. I thought it said movie. But
Well, to be fair, I won't be surprised, but I'm not sure if this is a spelling error or congratulating Elon Musk for sharing it.
I mean, making this kind of movie is sort of pointless, where you can just go on right wing Twitter and basically get the same message, just in a different format.
And probably in a less time-consuming format, to be
Yeah,
honest.
at least here you're going to have a laugh at the car explosion.
I'm just going to check some more tweets to see if there's something to laugh about. I have no idea what this is supposed to mean. I'm not even going to mention it. I'm like, seriously, they think just because something is banned, it's worth watching.
It's not like the movie is
Like, it's
like
confusing.
completely banned. The movie is just not shown in theaters. And I mean, who would pay?
If you're in the type of content, why would you even bother showing it in the theater anyways?
I mean, who would pay to watch it in the theater? If I paid to watch this movie, I would feel scammed.
I wouldn't even go to a theater in real life to watch the movie. And I did want to watch a movie in real life in an actual theater or watch other stuff like it. But Citizen Vigilante is not in any of the lists, not even the top 10.
It's not like you're missing out on like any cool scenes that would look better on a big screen, because there just isn't any.
And come to think of it, knowing what the people in Elon Musk's Twitter are saying about the movie, I feel like the only intelligent place where one would have opinions on it would be Blue Sky. Halfway intelligent.
Maybe.
All good.
I mean, the brain rot
All good.
around this movie is staggering. I've seen
I
just
think
like
the hype around this movie is stupid.
yeah, there's just so much so much people who just praise this movie mindlessly because it appeals to their opinion.
And baser instincts, because let me say this for the record. If there was a left-wing equivalent of the movie, all of these people would be saying Biden created it and Dementia Joe this or Sleepy Biden that. I think you know what I mean.
Yeah,
And part of this kind of bullshit is why I think we actually need to, as was said before, and I don't say it again, why we need to build back better, because until this happens, we'll have to deal with more of this slop. Hold on.
yeah, this is
Hold on,
definitely
so
not what
I'll
men's
see if there's
spaces
any
should
more replies, because I don't think this kind of movie should be promoted in any halfway decent male space.
Yes,
What's this guy doing?
it's basically posting a cringeworthy
Seriously?
meme.
We're like,
So
seriously,
cringe.
because he wants Citizen Vigilante too. Like, why?
I mean, yeah, again, another poster which makes the movie look cool. and it's not cool. It's not cool at all. It's not even fun.
If this is how if this is how this movie went, imagine how a sequel would go.
Bigger budget. This movie had like 2 million budget and nothing, and there was nothing of it. There's like nothing used in like I have no idea where this went.
They just wasted money trying to film this. Is that what
Like
I'm
you could
hearing?
make,
That they wasted an already big budget on a movie?
yeah, you could make a better movie with like way less money.
The only people that this movie already convinces is people who already agree with it. And I think we all know who we mean by that because you can already see one example. So the type of person that would make this meme already likes the content and is already primed to say it was good, regardless of the actual movie quality.
Yes, 100%. The the movie is not the movie is not convincing anyone.
Who isn't already convinced.
Yes, yes. There isn't just going to be a normal person that's going to be like, hey, I want to watch a movie today. How about this cool action movie, Citizen Vigilante? I wonder what it's about, and later come out as a right wing racist stratcon. Like, this is just not going to happen.
They're not going to convince. The people that are left leaning are obviously going to call out the movie for what it is. The people that are politically independent or even apolitical either don't care or are not motivated and are certainly not going to be convinced by even a single scene. So the only people that this appeals to is the people that would have liked any kind of slop, even low quality AI slop version of it, anyways.
Yeah, like a person who is like completely apolitical would probably just think it's a bad movie, and they would be right.
Like, one has to wonder why even do all of this. So
Yeah,
the
they
only
could.
people convinced is those that get already convinced, like I said. But regarding those people, I think I may excuse the movie a bit, but maybe it's trying to convince Gen Z right wingers. That's the one demographic that this actually appeals to, and also the fuentards, as I call them. I think you know what I mean by that. I'll check if the fuentards actually like it. And by fuentard I mean fuentes plus the word tard.
Yeah,
So probably the groypers like it. So I'm checking Twitter. What is Patrick Pet David even saying? Hold on. You've got to see this. It's so stupid. Patrick Bet David. That's what he has to say about it.
so
Watch
there's a
Citizen
reason.
Vigilante. Feel free to speak
Who
if
is
you've.
paying money for this? Like, even if you're a right winger and you pay money for this, you should feel scammed. Imagine paying
Speaking
money for this.
speaking of which, one has to wonder, and I'm going to say, are these people being paid to spread the movie?
I wouldn't be surprised. Or maybe that's where the budget went. That could
I
have
won't
been
be
where the
surprised
budget
either
went from.
because there was basically a trend of, right wing Twitter, right? There was basically a trend where many of these accounts were not from where they said they were. So there were accounts from India, South Asia. I'm not sure if Thailand was one of the countries, but you know, in particular, in particular, and I think one of the people in my server, Pankosa, is an expert on this. And these types of people register accounts in third world countries and then LARP as American or European right wingers. And it's just so obvious
Yeah, there's a lot of like astroturfing and grifting. This is there's a lot of it. And I've noticed there's a that when I've talked that there was this right wing AI slop movie, which was basically like this, but we made with AI. That there has already been people praising it. So
Wait,
it's not
I have a
like they,
confirmation,
yeah, it's
direct
not like there's
confirmation of what you were saying.
it's not like there's even a point in making a live action movie. You can just make AI slop and people will like it anyway.
Take a look at, take a look at what John Del Arroz is saying.
Oh, he's
Direct
basically
confirmation of
admitting it.
what you were saying. Well,
He's
I'm going
basically
to read it.
admitting it.
People are sick of the woke messaging. This film was objectively not very good, but we all wanted to succeed anyways to send a message.
So it's basically just for the politics.
They're
But I'm glad
basically
he
admitting.
admitted it. I'm glad he said it.
So people here in the chat, if you're there, just look at this tweet, and I'll even link it. Okay. I feel like the person that might have written this above tweet is biased, but this tweet from John Del Arroz actually says everything. Here's the link. And in this tweet, you'll see the image of exactly what we're talking about. So instead of making an actually good movie that would grow grassroots, they're basically just doing stuff for the sake of sending a message. And that's all there is to
Yeah.
it. These people would go to any lengths to sort of own the libs.
Yeah. It's quite embarrassing.
Like, one
Like,
has to wonder, to what lengths will these people go to own the libs? Like, imagine if there was this button which basically resulted in your country being poorer. Would they press it if it meant owning the libs? Because to
yeah.
some aspect, they might do it.
Yeah, like I would imagine that even if like they paid for this movie and they went to it, and then in the movie there is like, and then in the movie, for example, they used like, for example, guns made of cardboard, or like it was like, very obviously very 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 bad. Then they would still like rate it 5 stars and say it was very good, just to,
Shows the level of
yeah, just
bias.
to blow the lips. Yeah.
So, regarding the movie, that's basically as much as I have to say about it. I'm not sure if there's anything more. I'll go check. It's obviously slop to the highest degree based on what we've seen. These people even admit it is. And they're basically saying it's there to send a message. So there's not much interesting about the movie other than it's basically being astroturfed. And moreover, the real complaint we have is the fact that it's an astroturf. Like, these people are saying, oh, it's shadow banned or whatever. The level of fake astroturfing we're seeing about this movie is unreal, because if there was if we had a slightly honest world in terms of opinion, if if it was accounted for the fact that if we didn't have people who would intentionally spread the movie just because it agrees with them regardless of quality, the movie wouldn't have the level of ratings it has now. So regarding this narrative of shadow banning in terms of the movie, I would just say spare me.
Yeah, if anything, it's the opposite happening. Astroturfed. It's being astroturfed like to the sky. It's completely astroturfed. that's the opposite is happening of what they're saying.
It's also the movie is also complete bullshit, to be honest, given the type of messaging it pushes. And sadly, I don't want to be this kind of lamenting or sad doom poster or doomer, but if anything, we're probably going to see more and more of this bullshit, and people are just going to support it because it's Levoke hates it, or we own the libs totally, or something like that.
Yeah,
So that is the quick lament.
if male spaces are going to be infested with this trash, then it would be really sad. But unfortunately, we already see it happening.
To some aspects, we do see it happening, but the PMC, to be honest, the real anti-Tradcon front actually does something against it.
Yeah.
And in my server, I've done as much as I possibly can to get rid of the Tradcons. And just so people know how my server works, Male Femboy is one of my moderators in the server. Actually, a good moderator at that, too. We have rules in place that basically tells the Tradcons to just F off.
Yeah, that's something that is necessary.
I think it's one of the reasons why my server is actually still free and still prospering, because without them, we would have been taken over already.
Yeah, they love to derail with their obsession
with
women.
any server run by these people, and also, I'm not sure if Chronic servers also like that, but I wouldn't doubt it. And by Chronic, I mean Undead Chronic. I hear things that are alarming at best, and at worst shows the need for the kinds of things that we're doing. Speaking of which, there is a reason this channel and anything else that we do regarding content that advances male interests and talks about MGTOW and being single and whatnot is done in a way that is not intended to roast others, not intended to be roasting or confrontational, but actually arguing the point. We know what Undead Chronic style of content looks like, and many have chosen to use that as an example of what not to do instead of an example of what to do. This is not to attack Undead Chronic directly, but there is way better styles of content that could be done to advance our goals. If you want to elaborate on that, feel free.
Yeah, I haven't seen that really, so I can't really say anything about it.
I'm not sure if you've watched Undead Chronic before, but back in 2019 and 2020, he had this whole goal of basically roasting everyone and tearing everyone apart. And I just feel like that isn't the approach that we should do. And my videos oftentimes do not roast people, and I just explain the point. Because I feel like we could do better. I do, however, think the PMC is aware of Undead Chronic and has its own opinions, but that I leave to them.
Yeah, I think I've heard of him, but I don't really remember. I think I've heard of him, but I don't really remember where from.
So I'll leave it at that. The closing thing I want to mention is that regarding this movie, it's just one more example of the level of astroturfing and bullshit that we're seeing from the Tradcon spaces, and that we'll continue to see as time goes on. We've seen this level of behavior from them before, and we'll see it again as they try to shoehorn their political opinions into these spaces, even if they don't belong there. And we'll have to do our best we can to expose propaganda for what it really is and how to counter it. And this stream is just one example of doing the right thing by deconstructing the propaganda and by actually talking about what's important and what's relevant. the good thing about the stream, and I'm going to say that because this is my first stream ever with Male Femboy, is that we've actually managed to discuss the real points, the conversations that people try to shy away from. And it is the situation with the TrapCons and what we're facing.
Yeah.
And in the future, I hope that the PMC does more to oppose the TradCons. I like the work that it's already doing, and I hope that I can do my very best to deal with the issues at hand, because even within MGTOW, we're sadly mired by that kind of stuff despite my best efforts. And regarding my best efforts, I'll still continue to do what is necessary.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've noticed that the MGTOW movement is being overrun by TradCons.
I'll say that it's a philosophy and not a movement, but I am going to comment that you're not exactly wrong when you're seeing the behavior. I mean, even regarding my community posts, you can take a look at what some others are saying about it and their opinions, and you wouldn't be wrong. Things that we see now just wouldn't be the case in 2019. I see 2019 as basically the glory days, and we will return to them. We will build back better, but more has to be done.
Yes, I agree.
Anyways, is there also like other closing stuff you want to say before we wrap up the stream? Any final message? Because I think I've already said my piece.
Yeah, I just want to say that I'm sorry, I don't know. At this moment I don't know what to say.
You can just wrap it up. I'll wrap it up. I want to thank you, Male Femboy, for being here, for being in the stream. Thank you for participating and explaining what it is as someone who's watched it, because now we have a first-hand account of what the movie is actually like. And that is the insight that I invited you here to explain to the viewers here. So I thank you for that. This has been the first stream with you, and it's a success. And I hope that as I do live streams more often, that even when I do open panels, that you and others participate, because it would be great.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that yes, this movie is indeed really bad, and that seeing it promoted in any kind of male spaces is really sad. It certainly does not belong there.
That's
all I wanted to say.
As we wrap this stream up, I'm going to show an image one more time, as we always do when it comes to ending stuff. So right here, you can see all of the alternative platforms, from Odyssey to MGTOW, Twitter, Rumble, Discord server, and Blue Sky. And Blue Sky is one of the areas that we MGTOW should grow, and I hope to see you all there in the future. And with that being said, this has been Igor MGTOW Video Games. Follow me on these other platforms if you want. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the stream. And thank you, Male Femboy, for being here on the panel to explain things.
Thank you.
To everyone, I want to say bye-bye. You can also say it if you want.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
So it's been great. Anyways, bye, and signing off.